Hello students, hope you all are doing great. I'm Achal Chaudhary, working as an assistant professor, BBA department in St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. So I'm back with my online lecture series of Principles of Management. Students, it's your lecture number 3 of Unit 4. And in your previous lecture, we have covered importance of controlling, types of control system, and prerequisites of effective control system. So we have covered all these three topics in your previous lecture in detail. And today we are going to start a new topic, that is resistance to control, reasons to resist control, overcoming the resistance, process of controlling, management by exception, and principles of control. So we will cover all these topics in detail today. So let's get started. Let's start with today's topic, that is resistance to change. Resistance to change is the action taken by individuals and groups when they perceive that a change that is occurring as a threat to them. One of the most important tasks of managers is to facilitate changes smoothly. Change is always inevitable, but so is resistance to change. It's a basic human nature of people to try and keep their methods and customs constant. So, students, here resistance to change means when, as we all know, that change is must in any situation, in any organization. If we are not keep changing our methods, we are not changing our basic whatever the custom we are following, then in that situation we will be considered as a obsolete thing. So change is very important for each and every person. So here resistance to change means like when employees are not accepting any sort of change in them, in their working life, then in that situation they just rebel on that particular change. So that is your resistance to change. Resistance to change consists of an employee behavior designed to delay or prevent the implementation of a work change. As I told you, when a employee delay or he just deny to implement a work change, that is known as the resistance to change. Employees resistance change because it threatens their needs for security, social interaction, status, competence, self-esteem. These can be a reason behind that resistance. So here the first thing what a manager have to do is that they have to just consider what is the exact reason behind the resistance to change. Then only that manager can overcome those changes, overcome those resistance to change. Otherwise, employees will not accept the change and they will feel insecure in doing those works and they will not try to adopt those changes. Same wise, resistance to control. There's a term that is resistance to control, which means the relative difficulty of constructing and holding a control line as affected by resistance to line construction and by fire behavior. So it is also known as difficulty of control. So students, what happened that when employees feel that they are working under the inappropriate control, something that is controlling them, someone who is controlling them, they are expecting the unachievable task from them. So in that situation, employees feel exhausted and they resist regarding the control. So that is your resistance to control. Next is reasons to resist control. First, inaccurate and inappropriate controls. Employees resist controls if they are not related to goals. If production department has to produce more without increasing their demand of raw material, Or you can say if sales department is asked to increase sales without increasing the expenditures on advertisement, whatever measures of control are applied by the management, they will not have to attain the goals. So students, what happen then when you are expecting something beyond the limit, when you are not giving the proper appropriate environment to produce something, to like develop the output of the employees, then in that situation employees will not accept the control on them, because you are not providing them appropriate amount of raw materials, you are not providing them appropriate opportunities to produce more, then you can't expect that they will produce more output, they will give you more output, because everything has everything will be dependent upon each and everything. Like suppose you are asking to for the like produce more and more goods, but you are not providing them the raw materials, then you can't expect that they can produce more products, because आप सामान ही नहीं दोगे, then how can a person produce more goods, how can they produce more products? If you are not providing them such raw materials, required things, then you can't expect such things. Next is your excessive control. Though controls aim to improve the performance of employees, excessive controls can prove otherwise. Control over every activity of employees can restrict their performance rather than enhance it. Excessive control restricts their freedom and reduces flexibility to work. People see control as restriction on creativity, which regulates their behavior in a rigid way. So, students, it's a very common thing when excessive control is done in an organization. So, employees start feeling that they are being observed all the time, and they will start making the mistakes. If they don't want to make mistakes, they are capable enough to do the work. But what will happen? Excess control will set up in their mind, and which will hindrance their working capability, which will not allow them to produce more, to give more output. So that's why there should not be any excessive control in the organization. Otherwise, employees will not feel safe, they will not feel comfortable in the working environment. They will start making the mistakes, and their eventually their output will be reduced. Next is your unachievable standards. If standards are unrealistic, employees may get frustrated and work below their capacities. See, students, whatever the target is given to a person, that should be realistic, that should be achievable. If it's not unachievable, if it's not unrealistic, then you can't expect the output. If a person has a capacity to work up to 8 hours only, then you can't expect to work him 2 more hours. No doubt you will provide him extra benefits, you will provide him extra working hours, you will provide him extra income, but that's not sufficient. Here the capability is up working up to 8 hours only. He is capable enough to work for 8 hours only. Then you can't expect him to work for 10 hours. Next is your fear of accountability. In contrast to those who perform well, employees who can't perform up to the standard also resist controls because of fear of being punished by the superiors. They are afraid of control if it exposes their weakness. See here what happens students, जब excess control होता है, when you are being controlled by someone, so although you are capable enough to do all the things, but still आपसे कोई ना कोई mistake हो जाती है. Many times it happens that you are making the mistake which you are not supposed to do, but ये होता है because of extra control, because of excess control. So in like resistance to control is the reason behind the resistance to control is accountability, fear of accountability. The employees start thinking that they start feeling that what if they're they are not well performed, they are not capable enough to accomplish that target, then what will happen? Their weakness will be exposed, they will be punished by the superiors. So this is one of the reason regarding behind the resistance of control. Last is your unpredictable standards. If the standards of performance keep changing, sometimes high, sometimes low, workers will not be able to access their performance against any predictable target and therefore will not be motivated to work. See, students, what happens when you are giving certain tasks to the employees? Sometimes you are giving them to produce 8 products. Sometimes you are giving them to produce 6 products in in a day. Sometimes you are giving them only 2 products to make. So what will happen? They will not be उनको समझ ही नहीं आएगा that whether they are able to produce 8 goods, whether they are able to produce 2 goods, what is the exact situation, what is their exact like working capabilities. So that will like somehow this is kind of a unpredictable standards. Then they will start thinking that they are not capable enough to produce suppose if you give them a task of producing 10 goods, then they will not think themselves as a considerable person. They will think that they are not able to produce 10 goods, although they have a capabilities. But because you haven't set any standards till now, so they will get confused. Overcoming the resistance. See, students, if there is a problem, then there is also a solution regarding that. There is a overcoming solution regarding the resistance. So let's have a look on that. Firstly, managers must be able to convince workers that the changes they are proposing, those are necessary, and they should ensure that employees should feel comfortable with those changes. Then only they can expect that employee will accept the changes. Secondly, managers should keep following things in their mind before enhancing before implementing such changes. Changes should not happen in one go because it is easier to implement them in stages. See, whenever there is a new thing which we are going to implement, that should not be implemented in a one go. आप एकदम से कोई भी change नहीं कर सकते, otherwise it will create some difficulties for you as well. So आपको धीरे धीरे step by step you have to create maintain the changes, then it will be adaptable and also it will be easily adaptable by the employees. Changes should never cause security problems for the workers. Whatever the change you are going to adopt, you are going to implement, that should not cause the security problems to the workers. Otherwise, they will not accept the change at all. Managers must consider the opinions of all employees on whom the proposed change will have an effect. Suppose if employees are suppose in an organization there are 20 employees who are working there, and out of which 18 are resisting regarding that control regarding the changes, then you should consider their opinions because 18 people out of 20 are resisting towards the change, then there must be a reason regarding it. There must be a reason behind that. So managers should consider all of those employees' opinions so that a manager can first well known about the changes problem, what they are actually feeling with that change. So maybe हो सकता है that manager अपनी जगह सही हो and maybe employees भी अपनी जगह सही हो. They are not comfortable with that change. Maybe that change is not appropriate for the organization. So ऐसा भी हो सकता है. So manager should think first and should allow all the employees to present their opinions in front of the management. If managers portray leadership by first adapting to the changes themselves, employees are less likely to resist. This is one of the important factors behind overcoming this situation. Manager should first of all he should work as a leader for all the employees. He should be portray a image of a leader. He should first adopt all the changes. He should convey a message to all the employees that if he can do, then anyone can do. So he should work on this thing. He should, first of all, he should adopt the change, then he can expect those changes to be adopted by the employees. Next, sufficient prior training of employees can help them accept changes with confidence. So a manager, it's a manager's duty that he should provide the proper prior training before adopting such changes so that employees will start feeling confident. If a person who is working in an organization don't know about how to operate a computer system, then he should, first of all, he should try to give him a proper training, because he haven't never seen any kind of computer, he haven't tried to work on any computer, then he should not be capable, he should not be confident enough to work over there. So first of all, he should be provided a proper training so that he will work with a confidence. This is your process of controlling. Your first step is establishing standards. This means setting up of the targets which needs to be achieved to meet organizational goals eventually. Standards indicate the criteria of performance. So students, in planning process, what we do, we just set up the standards on which we have to work in all the steps, in all the process, throughout the process. So first of all, first thing which we have to do, we have to establish a standards, that what we are expecting and what can be done by the employees. So it should be realistic. It should not be something unrealistic, unachievable. It should be realistic, which can be achieved by the employees. So first thing what we have to do, we have to establish some standards regarding that work. Second step is measurement of actual performance. The actual performance of the employee is measured against the target. With the increasing levels of management, the measurement of performance becomes difficult. So second main important thing what we have to do, we have to measure the actual performance. What is the result of that work which we have done? So what is the output of the process? So what is the result of the output, result of the process? So second thing what we have to do, we have to measure the actual performance. Third step is comparison of actual performance with the standards. This compares the degree of difference between the actual performance and the standard. So here what we have to do, we have to measure whether there is any kind of difference in between the standards and actual performance or not. And if there is any, what is the degree, up to what extent there is a difference. And last is your taking corrective actions. It is initiated by the manager who corrects any differences in actual performance. So last step is you have to take the corrective actions. If there is a difference in the step 3, if there was a difference between the actual performance and the standard performance, now what you have to do, being a manager, you have to take the some corrective actions. You have to eliminate that difference, you have to eliminate those differences. So this is how a process of controlling works. Next topic is management by exception. Students, it's one of the important topic. It can be asked in your exam, so it can be asked in 2 marks question, as a 2 marks question, so please try to understand the concept. Trying to control everything may end up in controlling nothing. Managers can't control every organizational activity, right? This is neither desirable nor possible within the frame of time, money, and resources constraints. The more the manager concentrate control efforts on significant exception, the more efficient will be the result of their control. So what does it mean? Management by exception means that management can't be involved in each and every task, in each and every decision making. So what principle signifies that managers should be involved in the certain decision making only when they are required to be involved. If a person can handle the situation by themselves, if employees are capable enough to solve or to get involved in decision making of a particular situation, then in that situation, managers or management should not get involved into it, because there are a lot of many decision making in the organization. There are many things which a manager has to decide, so it will not be possible for the managers to keep an eye on each and every decisions. So by it will also reduce their work also, because they are working on some specific things only. They are working on the important decision makings. They are working on the, like, when a decision making is like just impossible for any other person, then in that situation that decision making should be referred to the management, because they are capable enough to take strategic decisions. So whatever the decision we are going to take in the organization, that should be divided by seeing their capabilities. If that decision doesn't have any big difference, that decision don't have any big impact on the organization, then it should not be referred to the management, because manager must be involved in some strategic decision making at that time. So that's a concept of management by exception. Next is your merits or advantages of management by exception. First, it saves time, efforts, and money, as superiors deal with only exceptional deviations. So, of course, it will save the time, efforts, and money of the superiors, because they will be focused towards their exceptional or their important decision making only. Next, it leads to development of lower level managers as they learn to deal with simple and routine problems. So it's a kind of benefit for the lower level management, because now they will be involved in decision making, although it will be a simple or routine problems, but they will get to know how to control the situations. Although it's a simple situation, but they should have a proper knowledge regarding the controlling of a particular situation, regarding the making decisions regarding in a particular situation. Next, it leads to optimum attainment of organizational goals by categorizing all kind of decision making. So it also focuses on dividing the decision making things. It will divide the work between the management, between the lower management, upper management, or middle management. So it will help in achieving the organizational goals, because now everyone is having their sort of work. They are having their different on criteria to work. So it will also help in organizational goal achievement. Next is, it leads to optimum utilization of resources as they are concentrated in areas that need managerial attention. So it also leads in optimum utilization of resources, because now everyone have their sort of criteria, sort of working area. So that will help in them in to focus, mainly provide their focus on each and every situation. Now every situation will not be considered as a कि ठीक है जो है जैसे हो रहा है हो जाता है, it's okay, let it be वाली चीज नहीं होगी. Now you are focusing on each and every situation. Now every person is having their criteria, every person is having their own work. So it will help them to achieve the full utilization of resources. It reduces the workload of management, and they can utilize their time in more complex and more important tasks. Of course, when the workload of management will be reduced, now they have a proper time to think over the complex decisions, think over the important tasks which they have to achieve. So it will also increase the efficiency of the manager. Side by side, it will also help in achieving the organizational goal. And last topic of the day is principles of control. First, principle of assurance of objective. The basic purpose of management control is the attainment of objective. Does this by detecting failures in plans. Potential or actual deviations from plan should be detected enough to permit effective corrective actions. So the controlling portion works on the assurance of objective. It should be based on the assurance of achievement of objectives. So whenever you are controlling something in the management, so you should focus on the detecting failures and you should try to eliminate those failures and try to work on in a manner so that you are going to achieve your objectives. So it should be modified. If there is any kind of failure, it should be detected and eliminated from that process. Next is principle of efficiency of controls. A management control system should detect and highlight the causes of deviation from plans with minimum possible cost and unwanted consequences. The principle of efficiency is particularly important in control because techniques tend to become costly and burdensome. So, controlling system should be based on the efficiency because it involves huge amount of cost regarding that process. So, it should be based on the efficiency. Here, managers should detect and highlight the causes of deviation. They should make a important plans with them. They should have a like alternate plans with them. If there is any kind of delay in the achievement of the task, if there is any kind of failure, then they should have a appropriate plan and they should have a efficiency to control all the things. They should be capable enough to make the like changes in that plan, so they are based on the efficiency. They it should be based on the efficiency of the managers. Next is principle of control responsibility. The primary responsibility for the exercise of control lies with the manager charged with the execution of plans. His responsibility can't be waived or rescinded without changing the organizational structure. This simple principle clarifies the often misunderstood role of controllers and the control units. So here, students, what happened that here it should be defined that who is responsible for which task. So here control responsibility and authority should be designed in such a way that it is clear to all of the person who are involved in the producing of something, who are involved in producing that target, who are working on that particular target. So those authority and responsibility should be clearly mentioned to all those workers, all those managers. Next is principle of forward looking. Control like planning should be forward looking. The principle is often disregarding largely because control has been dependent upon accounting and statistical data instead of upon forecast and projections. So students, what happens that in previous lecture I have told you that it should be based on the forward looking. Maybe you can be wrong. Forward looking forecasting is not a assurance of something. It's just a like idea for doing something. You are just having some sort of idea that maybe you can be right or maybe you can be wrong. That's not sure. There is nothing like surety in that process, but it should be based on the future forecasting, so that if there is any kind of changes that will occur in future, so you should be capable enough to forecast those changes. At least you have some sort of idea. Maybe you can't detect 100% change, but at least you can consider the 20% or 30% change. That will be sufficient for you in the present situation. Next is principle of direct control. Most controls are used today are based on the fact that human being makes mistakes. They are often used as indirect controls aimed at catching error often after the fact. So basically what happens है स्टूडेंट कि हमारा जो मेन ह्यूमन बिहेवियर जो हमारा है that is on detecting someone's error and just analyzing those errors once they have occurred. We are not focusing on the like detecting some errors or guessing some errors in advance. So it should be a direct control. When you are detecting some errors that is possible in the particular process, that should be detected in advance. So you should work on detecting the things in advance. And next is your principle of reflection of plans. Controlling is the task of making sure that plans are carried out effectively. Therefore, control techniques must reflect the specific nature and structure of plans. So, controlling process should reflect the plan which we have planned earlier to work on some certain task. So, it should reflect that plan after ensuring that you have worked in an appropriate manner. So, here principle of reflection of plans means the controlling should depict its plan which they have performed, which they have decided in the advance. So students, that's it for today's lecture, and in next lecture we will be continuing your unit 4. Here are some questions related to the today's lecture. What do you understand by resistance to change? Explain it in detail. Question number 2. Explain in detail principles of control. So you have to solve these questions, and in next class we will continue unit 4. Thank you for your cooperation and interest. Stay tuned for more videos.